Chapter 28. That night, I couldn't eat dinner. My stomach was clenched into a tight knot. My throat was too dry to swallow. I made an excuse to go up to bed early. I turned on all the lights in my room, and I sat down on the edge of the bed and stared into the mirror. It reflected my room clearly, like a normal mirror, but I knew if I waited patiently, it would change. I propped my head in my hands and stared straight ahead. After a few minutes, the light in the mirror dimmed. The glass clouded over. Inside the mirror, my room faded away, replaced by gloomy blackness and swirls of gray mist. "Here goes, Jason," I whispered. I pushed myself to my feet and took a few hesitant steps across the room. I was just a few feet from the mirror when I heard the voice calling to me faintly, as if from far away. "Help me, Jason. Please, come help me." "I'm coming!" I shouted into the mirror, but my legs began to tremble so hard I couldn't take another step. My heart pounded in my chest. I suddenly felt breathless and dizzy. "Help me, Jason. Please, hurry!" Even so faint and distant, I recognized Fred's voice, and the sound forced me to move. I stepped up to the dark glass and leaned my head inside. Cold, heavy air rushed over me. I shivered. Squinting through the swirling mist, I searched for the crab-clawed monster. No sign of him. Was he destroyed for good in the battle of monsters? I cupped my hands around my mouth and called to the darkness. "Fred? Fred?" My voice hung heavily in the damp fog. No reply. I plunged my shoulder into the deep blackness and took a step forward. The fog surrounded me. The cold air stung my skin and shocked my lungs. I'm inside, I realized. I'm inside the mirror. Shivering from the cold, I took one step, then another. The mist clung to my skin. My clothes were wet. My legs felt heavy as I tried to walk through the thick murk. "Fred? Can you hear me?" No reply. Only silence. A silence so deep I could hear the blood pulsing in my temples. I peered into the darkness, waiting for my eyes to adjust. But there was nothing to see through the curtain of gray mist, only more gray mist. I took another cautious step. "Fred?" My mouth was still open when I felt the invisible floor give way. I felt as if I had stepped off a cliff. My hand shot up. My scream choked in my throat. I dropped straight down. The cold air slapped my face, blew my hair wildly, made my shirt flap up. How far would I fall? Would I ever land? No time to think. I landed hard on my feet. My ankles cracked. Pain shot up my legs. I shut my eyes and collapsed to my knees. And finally, my scream escaped my throat. "Aye!" My shrill wail of horror rang through the lift in darkness. And when the scream finally ended, I opened my eyes and stared at a dozen reflections of myself. Mirrors. Mirrors all around me. My shocked, frightened face staring at me from all sides. I gaped at myself, still shaking, still dizzy from falling. Where am I? How far did I fall? Before I could clear my head and stand up, I heard a cry from close behind me, and someone grabbed me.